This is a Louie Tee Network exclusive.
Hey, either you're outside or you're
in the lab room.
Draft Zone.
Who else could it be? Me, your me, Louie Tee. Welcome, you are in the lab room, of course. I'm your host, Lou. Thank you for joining me on the 2016 NFL Draft Wrap-Up. That's right, it's the wrap-up to the wrap-up series, or as I'm going to title it, the best and the worst of the 2016 NFL Draft. And I'd love to tell you that I came up with this concept by my lonesome, but I didn't. This concept and idea was given to me by a viewer. Randolph Carter Jr. sent me a message about 2 days ago and said, man, you know what? I'd absolutely love it if you found a way to just give us a little bit of insight as to what you thought about who had the best draft, the worst draft, the best pick, the worst pick, yada, 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 etc., etc., etc. And I said, damn, you know what? That's a hell of an idea. A wrap up to the wrap up of sorts, which is what he said. And I said, damn, it's a hell of an idea. Why didn't I think of that? Yeah, why didn't I think of that? I don't know. Stop asking me a bunch of questions. All I know is that this is a great idea. And I said, this would be the perfect bow to a nice series that has come to be my best series on my channel. And so what better way to wrap up the wrap up than with a wrap up? So what I'm going to do is I've come up with a number of different categories that tickle my fancy. I've looked at each and every single player in this draft class, all 32 teams draft, and I've come up with some categories that I think you guys would like. And I want you to chime in. If you're watching this video and you have this video hit your eyeballs, hit your ears, want you to comment in the comment section, and I'd love to hear from you guys as to what these different categories, how you feel about them, okay? How do you rank these categories? Who do you think belongs in these categories? I'd love to hear you guys' opinions on these different categories that I'm about to go over for the 2016 NFL Draft. But without any further ado, let's get into the best and the worst of the 2016 NFL Draft. We start with the best draft in 2016. This is a no-brainer. The Jacksonville Jaguars absolutely killed the 2016 NFL Draft. That's part of the reason why I think there's so much buildup and hype surrounding this team. And a lot of people like this Jacksonville Jaguars team as a dark horse in the AFC South Division. I think there's a lot of pressure building on Gus Bradley. And really, it's not just because of the draft and the offseason that they've had. Those things definitely add and help that pressure mount, but he's been there about 4 years now, going into his fourth season, and I think they want a winner now. And with the moves they've made in the offseason, the growth that we've seen from this team, especially on the offensive side of football, all of the acquisitions made via the draft and free agency on the defensive side of football, you think this is a team that's ready to win. You look at their draft, you got Ramsey, you get Jack, which to me, the first two picks for them in their draft, just phenomenal value. You turn around, you get Ngakoue, an edge rusher that you can put in situational passing situations. Then you turn around and get Sheldon Day, one of my favorite selections in this entire draft. You get Brandon Allen as a backup QB at the end of this draft, basically, and a couple of small school guys to go after the quarterback potentially. And you look at their draft and you say, they won this season in the NFL Draft, scored the highest score ever in the draft wrap-up series with a 3.86. So the Jaguars definitely deserve this distinction as the team that had the best draft in the 2016 NFL Draft wrap-up series. You look at the worst draft, and this team frustrated me, and this has nothing to do with the actual score given in the draft wrap-up series, because there were teams that scored lower than this particular team. But I don't want to tax those teams. I don't want to give them the distinction as having the worst draft. You look at a team like the Philadelphia Eagles, they only had like 6 or 7 players in their draft because they traded away a bunch of picks to come up to number 2 to select Carson Wentz. And again, when you get a draft where you select potentially the future of your franchise at the quarterback position, I don't care how you get them, I'm not going to fault you for doing that. If you feel like that's the guy that could be the one that helps you hoist the Lombardi down the road, by all means, go do what you got to do to get that guy. Same with the Los Angeles Rams. They only had 6 selections. They had a poor score, so I don't want to beat them up. The team that I want to beat up is the San Francisco 49ers, and I don't want to call it the worst draft. That's such a harsh term. Can we change that? They had a meh draft. To me, they had the biggest meh draft because they had a top-heavy draft, and when you have 11 selections, there should be 4 or 5 guys that I walk away saying, man, these guys are going to be some football players, man. Especially, these other 2 guys, you're not really sure, but I think those guys have it. They have the potential to turn into some big-time players in this league. When you get 11 selections, you're just throwing the darts at the dartboard and you're hoping a couple of those things stick. I look at this and I'm just like, I don't think any of these extra darts are going to stick necessarily. Not around the bullseye at least. They may hit the 2 or the 5 or something like that. They're not hitting any big numbers, man. The first 2 picks, those were some really outstanding selections. When you're talking about Defoe, when you're talking about the offensive lineman out of Stanford, so you did a really good job there. You get Joshua Garnett, and you feel like, okay, those 2 Pac-12 guys are going to hold it down for you. But the other 9 guys in that draft, it's meh on top of meh on top of meh. I mean, I look at the 2 offensive linemen that you selected. They don't move the needle for me. Kelvin Taylor, I don't like Kelvin Taylor. I think he's an ordinary back. He's just ordinary people. Just like Aaron Burbridge, another ordinary guy. You already got like 3 or 4 Aaron Burbridges on your roster, and you're going to get another one. I don't understand. I don't get it. So that, to me, was the meh draft in 2016 San Francisco 49ers. Let's move on to the best pick in this entire draft. The Indianapolis Colts just gave Andrew Luck the most lucrative contract ever in NFL history, $140 million, 70 some odd of it guaranteed, 60 of it basically in the first 3 years, which is astronomical. And you say to yourself, damn, can he stay healthy? The best way to ensure that is to put guys in front of him that can protect him and keep him upright. Ryan Kelly, center out of Alabama, the 18th selection in the draft, to me is the best pick by far in this draft. I told you I thought he was the cleanest offensive lineman. I thought he might have been the safest pick in the first round. And this is the guy that I think is going to come in, and he's a can't-miss prospect. You plug him, you play him, and they had trouble on the interior of their offensive line. Those troubles have been alleviated, at least the ones at the center position. They're going to be fine for years to come, and it's because they made the right selection in the first round with center Ryan Kelly. You go to the worst pick, and it's really not so much the worst pick as it is gun to your head pick. All right, 10th overall selection, New York Football Giants select Eli Apple, cornerback out of Ohio State. Didn't love the pick then, don't love the pick now. And look, I understand, I get it. There wasn't any offensive lineman there. Jack Conklin gone. The Notre Dame kid gone. So you had a chance to take Larry Tunsil, but you didn't want all the baggage that came with it. I get it. I understand. Okay? So, you can't get Leonard Floyd. He's gone. The Buccaneers allow the Bears to jump in front of you. So what do? What's the team to do? You could have selected Shaq Lawson, but you said, hey man, Shaq got a hurt shoulder, man. I don't want to deal with that. Okay, I get it. I understand. Vernon Hargraves III was there. Why you didn't take him? Look, I'm not here to tell you who you should have taken. I just didn't think that was a top 10 talent. You could argue Artie Burns could be in this discussion, because my thing is, when you select a guy in the first round, you need that guy to pan out. Simply put, you can't make mistakes in the first round. That's how people get fired. Now, top 10 is much different than the 24th pick in the draft, okay? 25th pick in the draft. When you draft in the top 10, you better hit. I'm not sure that you just hit with Eli Apple. You go to the best value in this draft. I thought 3 teams came away with some extraordinary value. Larry Tunsil, Miami Dolphins. Come on, man. What are we talking about here? A guy that we considered the best tackle in this draft, was potentially the first pick in the draft. If the Titans stay at number 1, I'm convinced he's the first selection. It may have been Jalen Ramsey. I'm still convinced they take an offensive lineman. You see, they traded up for Jack Conklin. I'm thinking they would have took Larry Tunsil number 1 overall. And so this guy drops out of the top 10, and we'll talk about that here in a second. But Cowboys get Jalen Smith, linebacker out of Notre Dame, in the second round, 34th overall. And the Jacksonville Jaguars, maybe the biggest steal of them all, gets linebacker Miles Jack from UCLA, 36th overall in the second round. To me, all 3 of these guys, top 10 talents. Neither of them were selected in the top 10 for various reasons. The latter 2 because of injury, and the first one, of course, Larry Tunsil, because of the video that hit airwaves and all over social media the day of the draft with the bomb hit video with the gas mask. So again, Those to me were guys that were in the top 10 of everybody's big board, yet none of these guys were selected in the top 10 of the draft. That to me is outstanding value. As you go to the worst value and you look at the two Super Bowl teams from a season ago, and normally when you go to the Super Bowl, teams start poaching off your roster and you lose a couple of guys. In the case of the Panthers, this was self-inflicted. They could have had their roster basically back intact if they would have kept Josh Norman. Instead, they have some contractual discussions and disputes. Next thing you know, he's off to Washington, and they have a huge void in their secondary. They go reaching in the second round for cornerback James Bradbury out of Sanford. I was not a huge fan of this, and when you watch the tape, there's nothing that jumps off the tape at me that screams second round selection. As a matter of fact, I'd like to think you could have gotten him in the third or the fourth round, and I think you wouldn't have had any objections. No one's beating your door down, chasing you around for this guy. I think he would have been there. And again, I can't confirm nor deny that. If he's your guy, go get your guy. When you feel the need to get your guy, you know how I like to say it. But I thought there was more value there at that particular position at the time of this selection. They didn't decide to go in that direction. Hell, one of the corners that they selected in the third round, I thought could have been here. At the second round, I would have felt much better. If you flip-flop those two picks, I feel like you would have done much better in terms of your score. But nonetheless, you go to the Denver Broncos, the very next selection, they look at the Panthers and say, damn, you lost your corner, I lost my defensive lineman, a huge contributor to my football team, just like you lost a huge contributor. I'm going to do the same thing you did and reach for a dude that I necessarily don't need to draft right now. And Adam Gotsis, defensive lineman out of Georgia Tech. Again, I see the upside. I understand why the selection was made, but I didn't think it needed to be made here. This was a deep defensive line class. There was still a lot of value left on the board when this selection was made. He's coming off of an ACL tear, which is my biggest issue with this selection. This is a guy that is extremely raw, still has a lot to learn, but he's coming off of an ACL. He's not going to be ready for a camp. What are you doing here? In the second round? Why? He would have been there in the third round, possibly in the fourth round. Why are we doing this in the second round? Both of those teams, to me, reached for players in the second round. To me, that was the worst value of the draft. You go to the best fit, and I've been singing this song for about a year and a half now. Talked about the Cowboys needing to upgrade the running back position. Darren McFadden's nice. He's okay. He's all right, but he's not real. We understand that. And I told you last year, and I've been singing the song, and I'm telling you over and over again, they needed to select Ezekiel Elliott. And what did they do? They selected Ezekiel Elliott. Easy E, Dallas Cowboys, 4th pick overall. Cowboys made the right decision at the top of the draft, essentially, with this selection. I told you that this was a C+ offense last year, the way it was constructed without Tony Romo. And now you take Ezekiel Elliott and you insert him into this offense. I don't really give a damn who's that quarterback. This is a B+ offense because that offensive line is going to create holes for this guy to navigate. And once he gets to the second level, he's a dangerous threat in that backfield. So you take and stick Tony Romo in that offense now, a healthy Tony Romo, it's an A+ offense. So Ezekiel Elliott just took and elevated this Cowboys offense with this one selection. To me, it's the best fit in this draft. You go to the worst fit, and it was a curveball thrown to us very early in the draft. As a matter of fact, not many of us saw it coming, and it was a night full of curveballs and off-speed pitches, and this was the first one that we swung and missed at. The 3rd overall selection, San Diego Chargers. San Diego Superchargers select Joey Bosa, defensive lineman, defensive end, call him what you want, out of the Ohio State University. To me, I looked at that pick and I said, whoa, wait a minute. You need an outside linebacker? They said, nah, man, we got plenty of those. I said, then what the hell are you doing? Oh, we need a defensive lineman. Joey Bosa? I looked at them and I said, you putting him at the defensive line position? They said, yep, 5 tech. But you don't think he can play that? I'm like, I don't know. I'm not too sure about that. I don't know if that's a great fit or not. I'm not saying. I'm just saying. Much like I said with Eli Apple, I think this guy is uber talented, and I think he'll be able to flourish along the defensive line. But a 5 tech, 280 pounds, and I know, look, I mean, I look around, I say, J.J. Watt's 289. That's 10 more pounds, though, man. All I'm saying is, I looked at Joey Bosa, and I thought he was a 4-3 base end. That's what I thought. I said, if you want to get freaky, you can slide him inside on 3rd downs when you go to your even man fronts. When you get to your nickel packages, he'd be great as a defensive tackle like he was at Ohio State. But a 5 tech? We're going to see if this is going to pan out the way they want it to. I just didn't think it was a great fit at number 3 overall. You go to the best mid-round selection, and I got 2, okay? 2 guys that really jumped off the tape at me that I fell in love watching them as I broke down their team's draft. The first of which, Dean Lowry, selected by the Green Bay Packers in the 4th round, 137th overall. Out of Northwestern, this guy was phenomenal on tape. Had some huge games. Remember, Stanford lost early in the season, first game of the year at Northwestern. Part of the reason they lost that game, Dean Lowry came out, played a whale of a ball game. One of the best games I watched individually a player play was that Northwestern team versus Nebraska. Dean Lowry put on a clinic. You want to see a guy dominate a game, single-handedly take over, and help his team win a ball game? Go watch Dean Lowry in that game versus Nebraska. He was brilliant. You go to the Minnesota Vikings, and I know they've got a star-studded linebacking group in Minnesota. They've got Kendricks, they've got Bard, they've got the UCLA connection there. This is a guy that I think is going to be the glue that holds that group together. Give him a couple years, give him a year or 2. Kentrell Brothers, to me, out of Mizzou, 160th overall pick in the 5th round, is going to be the guy that stirs that drink. He's going to be the straw that stirs the drink in Minnesota defensively. He's going to be the captain of the ship in Minnesota. Give him some time. This guy is incredible. He's not the athlete that everybody wants him to be, but he's a damn good football player, and I believe in Kentrell Brothers. And I think he's going to find his way onto the field and dominate in Minnesota in due time. You go to a pick that I call, whoa, wait, him? Here? You already know. You already know who I'm about to say. Whoa, wait, him? Here? Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 2nd damn round. Place kicker, Roberto Aguayo, Mr. Automatic, out of Florida State. Not only did they make this selection in the 2nd round, which I wasn't a huge fan of, but I was willing to turn a blind eye to. I didn't see that. I didn't see you just select a kick in the 2nd round. I was willing to not see it if you didn't see it, until they gave up some damn draft picks to do so. And I don't give a damn how you acquired the draft picks that you ultimately gave up. You gave up assets to make a selection of a kicker in the 2nd round. That's a no-no. So of course, whoa, wait. Him? Here? Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They get that award this year. Move on to the best late round selections. And I got one. Los Angeles Rams take wide receiver Mike Thomas out of Southern Miss. And I look at this guy and I say to myself, wow, 6th round, 206 pounds. The Rams are starving for a guy to step up and say, hey, I'm the alpha male, I'm that guy. Let me be the one to take over this receiving group. I got it. Let me be that guy. They don't have that guy right now. Enter in Mike Thomas in the 6th round, 206th pick overall in this draft. And I say he's got a shot to not only come in, but come in and be the guy. They don't have that guy. That guy could be Mike Thomas. I think he's impressive. Mike Mayock talked about him not potentially getting off of jam and being a guy that's going to have to catch some contested balls. I think he can get off the line of scrimmage. I think he's got enough speed to scare some corners and run by some guys if they disrespect him. I think he can catch the football in traffic, and I think he can be a huge playmaker for the Los Angeles Rams. Jared Goff is going to need a go-to guy. What better guy to have than the same guy that's selected in the same draft as you? You guys come in and make some beautiful music together, a la AJ Green and Andy Dalton. Sounds good to me. They come in the same draft together, they make noise together, they grow together, and take this LA franchise to the top together. We'll see. But that to me is a really good late round selection in Los Angeles with Mike Thomas. You go to the most intriguing selection. I got 2, so let's put an S on that. Most intriguing selections for me. New Orleans Saints defensive lineman David Onyemata out of Manitoba by way of Canada. This is a 4th round pick, 120th overall. Guy that is extremely raw, just basically brand new to football. We've probably been playing all of 3 or 4 years now, but this guy has enormous potential, and I'm confident that this guy with proper coaching and the number of opportunities that he's probably going to get with a porous Saints defense to get on the field right away, this is a guy that I think can wreak havoc on the league in 2 or 3 years from now. I'm confident that this guy is going to be a really good player, not just a productive player in this league, but a really good player and going to turn some heads early on in his career. I'm going to be keeping my eye on him. Very intriguing prospect there. And here in Minnesota, 6th round, 180th pick overall, of course, I'm talking about the star of the 2016 NFL Draft, Moritz Böhringer, aka Mobo, athletic freak, 6'4", 221 pounds, running a sub 4.5 40. This is a guy that I think everybody looks at and says, man, they call him the German Randy Moss. I don't know about all of that. I do know that this guy is a height, weight, speed specimen and a freak. And if he can come in and do the same things that he did over in the German league where he tore it up, ripped those guys to shreds, you could be talking about the future in Minnesota at the wide receiver position being Moritz Böhringer, another guy that I will be watching very closely in the preseason when he does get on the football field to see how he is progressing in Minnesota. You go to the best, and this is the final category, and keep in mind, I want your guys' answers to these different categories that I've given, whether you agree with mine or you disagree with mine. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say on the subject matter. The final category is the best 7th round candy. Okay, the best 7th round candy. Now, what I mean by that is, you ever been to a restaurant? Oh my God, you eat some magnificent food, your belly is full, and you finish off the check, put your John Hancock on it, right? Get your card back, put it in your wallet, y'all get up from the table, and as you taking that slow stroll out the restaurant, you look to your left, and what do you see on that counter right there? Nothing but some damn candy, preferably some mints. And now, you have the option, you got 1 or 2 options. You can take that slow stroll right out the door and walk right past those mints. Or you can take that stroll and turn it on over and go straight to those mints. And you can't eat just one. Probably gonna put 2 or 3 of them in your pocket, pop one in your mouth, keep it moving. Now, with these 7th round candies, look, they could either make your team, much like this candy, you could either go and grab a couple of them, or they could not make your team. That's what 7th round candy is all about. You can walk right out the door, see the candy, keep it moving. These are some guys with some athletic ability, some talent that fell to the 7th round that can come in, make your team, and make a difference, and not make your team at all. I got a bunch of them. I limited it to just 7. Here they are. Pittsburgh Steelers wide receiver DeMarcus Ayers in the 7th round. Highly productive, one of the most productive receivers in all of college football in the 2015 season for Houston. 229th pick overall in the 7th round. This guy can do it all, can return punts, potentially kickoffs, catches the football with the best of them. Doesn't have elite speed, but this guy has everything else. Not the biggest guy either, but look, sign me up with the void left by Big Ten Martavis Bryant there on that Steelers roster. I think this guy actually has a chance to not only make this roster, but get some snaps a la Sammy Coates last year and make a difference. We'll see. I like DeMarcus Ayers in the 7th round for the Steelers. Chicago Bears wide receiver Daniel Braverman, another one of these ultra productive receivers. Him out of Central Michigan, 230th selection in this draft. This is a guy that can win immediately in the slot. I know the Bears currently still have Eddie Royal. He's no spring chicken. Entering Daniel Braverman, who I think not only is going to make this roster, but he is definitely going to have a shot at getting some meaningful snaps with a very, very young Chicago Bears football team. Philadelphia Eagles and defensive back Jalen Mills out of LSU, 7th round, 233rd pick. Overall, this is a very talented cornerback slash safety, a guy you can drop over the slot, play at safety. I don't know what exactly the Eagles are asking of him right now. Is he playing the cornerback position, which he did play exclusively at one point at LSU, or is he playing the safety position, or is he playing both? Don't know, don't care. This guy is talented enough to do all of those things and above. So I think this is a guy that, if put in some positions to succeed, can get the job done at the next level. Anxious to see what happens with Jalen Mills at the Philadelphia Eagles in the secondary. 7th round, 233rd pick overall. New Orleans Saints, running back Daniel Lesko. I've been talking about Lesko all draft process long, about how this is a guy that if he could just stay healthy, has all the tools necessary to be a productive running back in this league. You look at the Saints, they love to run the screen game. They love to have guys that are productive out of the backfield. Here's a guy that can fill all of those voids for them. And in the 7th round, to me, this is tremendous value. He was one of the best participants at the combine, at the running back position, placed in the top 3 of every single category statistically at the combine, showed explosiveness, showed his ability to get it done on the bench, showed straight line speed, running a sub 4.5 40. This is a guy that has a complete package. He just needs to stay healthy. Saints take a flyer on him in the 7th round, 237th pick overall, and I think that's an investment that they'll be very happy with if Lesko can stay healthy. You go to the New York Jets, height, weight, speed specimen out of Clemson. We've got another one of them on the list. We'll talk about it a little bit later on, but 7th round, 241st pick, Sharon Peake is the selection for the Jets. And to me, he's in the perfect landing spot because with his size, with his speed, with his height and his ability to make plays, I look at Brandon Marshall and I even look at Eric Decker and I say, mentor this young man. He is the future in New York if he can get on track. This is a guy beset by injuries at Clemson, a guy that really was overshadowed by other receivers at Clemson, never really got his just due, and because of that, he's a 7th round selection, but make no mistake about it, the talent is here and now around these other guys that look just like him, size, physical attributes, speed, all of those things. He could learn from some of the best in the league at the position. And again, they look just like him, so he will learn some of the nuances of being a bigger receiver in the National Football League and how to use that to your advantage. So I think that's a great spot for him in New York. We'll see who's throwing him the football, which is probably the bigger question in New York these days. You go to the Redskins. Running back Keith Marshall of Combine fame, fastest 40 at the Combine in 2016, 4.31. 40, the 7th round, 242nd pick overall. Another one of these guys beset by injuries. And again, when you get a nice piece of candy in the 7th round, it's generally one that's a little bruised and battered, maybe broken inside the wrapper. Still good, okay? If you can find a way to put it all together, still tastes good. And so this is a guy with tremendous speed and the ability to hit the home run, something the Redskins lack out of their backfield. And so if this guy can find a way to navigate the offseason without being injured, he already sustained an injury in the OTAs. If he can find a way to be healthy at training camp and showcase the speed that got him selected here in the 7th round, this is a guy that can not only crack the Redskins roster, but have a chance to make some big plays in the upcoming season. And finally, the final piece of 7th round candy, that is Minnesota Vikings safety, Jaron Kearse, a big physical height, weight, speed specimen at the safety position. This is a guy we're talking about 6'4", 216 pounds or so. A guy that can make some plays, very athletic. 7th round, 244th overall selection. This is a guy that was very disappointed in being drafted in the 7th round. And there's a reason why he didn't get selected until the 7th round. Because of his mentality, his attitude. He's not a guy that is willing to be physical and come up and hit guys all the time. He's a guy that will try to go and deliver a knockout shot, but he's not really a form tackler, so he can be beat. He takes poor angles to the football, relies too much on his size and athleticism instead of using football prowess to get the job done. And so there's a lot of things that's wrong with Jaron Kearse's game, but you can't teach 6'4", you can't teach 217, 216, and you can't teach his physical gifts if he can find a way to embrace coaching, take a different approach to the game, and be more sound in his principles and his techniques, this is a guy that could be a steal, not only for the Vikings, but potentially of this draft for the Minnesota Vikings. So that is the best and the worst of the 2016 NFL Draft. You guys can thank Randolph Carter Jr. for that. It happens in the National Football League. Whether big or small, we cover it all here in the lab. We'll come back and join us as I continue to break down and National Football League. I got a lot of content for y'all, and I know it's a little bit of time left. I'm going to fill this gap for y'all. Don't you worry. Your man Louie Tee is going to take care of you as we get through this drop leading up to training camp. See you then. There's plenty more where that came from. While you're here, subscribe to the channel. If you want more Louie Tee, be sure to follow me on Twitter at @InTheLabRoom, or you can like the Facebook page at In the Lab Room. That's In the Lab Room on Facebook and at In the Lab Room on Twitter. Don't forget, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so.